Well, good evening, friends and neighbors. No preamble tonight. I didn't want to run the intro because we got stuff to talk about, I'm sure. I see a lot of friendly faces in here, and it's nice to see all you guys. Monday Night Football's kicking off, so if you're watching that, just kind of turn the volume down, and we'll get through our discussion because there's going to be tons of questions. It is 24 hours before the trade deadline. Now we're down to about 20 hours. And we're getting there. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go through everything the Chiefs did against the New York Jets. We're going to answer your questions. And there is a ton to go over. But if you're new, make sure you click the bell and the sub and the notification, as well as maybe like this video. That goes a long way. Hopefully you can see me pretty good tonight. Again, the quality of this stream is always dependent on the internet service that I use. I live out in the docks, and it's not always consistent. So I will cross my fingers and we'll get going. Big game for the Chiefs. I thought they really did what I had hoped that they would do, and that is buckle down and stay on task and not get snuck up on. And they did a pretty good job for that. There's a lot of aspects to it. One other thing, tonight's beer from Westbound and Down in Idaho Springs. Cheers, a great brewery. And this particular West Coast IPA is it's a nice combination. They did a collab. They have a whole series of them. So here's to you. Now that said, if you're into the memberships, they're getting close here. Working on the graphics, the things that we need to do. I should have an announcement on that here, hopefully in the next week or two. At least when those will kick in and when we're able to start. All kinds of content, some adult conversation videos will be behind the wall for the members only videos. And then we're going to do some chats. We're going to do for the elite members. We're going to get to the point where we do some Zoom calls where you can be on with us. And that'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that portion of it. Tonight, I want to give a shout out to everyone who has been a supporter lately, and I put a graphic together I want to put up here now, and you should see it at this point. And this shows the growth of what's been going on around this channel. And for those of you that are new, that maybe this is the first stream that you're catching, this is the growth that we've seen from all of our contributors. And the month of September was great. Ian Roberts, Maximo, you guys were all over the place, but a lot of people supporting the channel through the super chats and the super stickers. And you can do that for any amount that you like. And all I ask is that you hopefully ask a question so I can get you something for it right away. This is about conversation and about getting you what you're looking for. That's a big part. And then you see what happened in October. Adam, Dylan again, he was a big contributor in August as well, as long as Nipper Girl and Stevie and everyone else. This list goes on and on and on. But these are the contributors to the channel that are helping us out to keep helping you out. Time is one thing that we can always try to find a way to do. Software, etc., is always a challenge. And we like to do the film, and I know you guys like those videos. That takes access and those kind of things. I want you to know where your support is going, and that's the whole reason. So that said, with Neil Ely, thank you very much. You did this before I was even in the room, so I appreciate that. And, old hands like Steven and Gary and Stevie will tell you that I very much do appreciate it. So thank you. Our fearless mod is in the house, Aaron, and he will tell you thank you very much as well. And part of what we're going to have to plan out is how Aaron's role will go forward once we get to the membership. So I'm sure he's got some ideas, and so do I. So let's keep it rolling. We'll get right into the questions at this point. JC, hope you're doing well. On one of the podcasts, you mentioned a draft prospect that was faster than Tyreek Hill. What was his name? It was when I was talking about John Ross being available. It's not in the coming. I think Jalen Waddle could be, but we don't have confirmation of that yet. That hasn't happened. I do expect that Waddle is going to be right in that range, in that 4.27, 4.29. I do firmly believe he will come in sub 4.3. And so, JC, that's who I think you're thinking of. It's either John Raj in the pros when I was talking about the trade, or it is Jalen Waddle, who is the wide receiver for Alabama. Just another in the line of Alabama wide receivers. And for those of you, again, if you're new, put your question marks at the beginning, please. It always helps me pick them out of the chat. Let's see here. And Neil, thank you very much, as always, from your super chat before. How important is the number one seed in the AFC for the Chiefs? Looking at the remaining schedule, I feel like the Steelers have a real shot at it. Is that a big deal or not? It certainly is, especially this year, because there's only one, and that's hard to come by. It is one of those things that, excuse me, you just can't replace. You get that week off after a season, a long season, depending on when your bye was, and the Steelers kind of lost out on their bye. That can really be the difference, I think, between going on a run and not. So it's key to getting that done. So I think that, yes, they have to be in contention for it. And yes, the Steelers might have an easier time, but we're going to have to get to it when we get to it. I don't think they're going to go undefeated. I'll tell you that. And I think they're going to run into some hiccups. Alex, as always, thank you. Welcome back. Do you think the Chiefs will lean more heavily on Le'Veon Bell once the playoffs start because of his experience over Clyde Edwards? I don't necessarily think so. I think it's easy to think that, and I won't tell you you're out in left field by any means, but I think that's just the tendency. I think, especially by then, Clyde will have had pretty much a full season under his belt. And I think they really want to make sure that he's involved. They don't want to stunt his growth in any way. Excuse me while I adjust here. They don't want to stunt his growth. So I do believe that they will keep it nice and even. Justin Troba, how are you? Can we win out from here on out? Tampa Bay is going to be tough. They're playing better than I expected them to. I give them all credit that I didn't give them in the beginning of the season. I don't think that they're quite as struggling as I thought they would. There's going to be others too. I mean, you can never count out anybody in the division. I don't think the Raiders are going to get a second win against this team. I think this team is going to make sure that they cover that. But there's always somebody. They have to do what they did last week, and they have to keep their guard up. They have to stay focused. They have to stay intense, and they have to get things done. C. Spencer, do you think Mahomes can catch Wilson for the MVP race? It seems like that Seattle is going all out to ensure he wins. They don't even try to run the ball in the red zone. You're absolutely right, and I do think that Patrick can catch him. That's not much of a question in my mind, especially it depends on what he gets. He went off yesterday because the Jets, for whatever reason, decided to try to stop the run and the pass rush rather than covering, which has been proving to slow Patrick down. They abandoned that, and they didn't follow that advice. I think most teams will here on out. And it gets into how do you beat cover 3? How do you beat the cover 6s that they're going to see? And how can you take advantage when you do get those strikes? Like that Rolex call yesterday on Tyreek's second touchdown, it's going to be about adjustments and Patrick recognizing and going for it. Hot and spicy, is there anybody at the trade deadline that interests you? I mean, I could see a number of different things that could be interesting, but I don't think it's going to. Njoku, possibly. I don't know. It's really hard to see somebody of quality moving on at this point. But, if it's a fire sale in Houston, I don't know. Maybe Fuller, maybe Stills. I like Kenny Stills. I like the way he plays. Adam, thank you for your super chats as always. I'm guessing you're one of the ones down below. And Aaron, if you would keep a list, I'm falling behind already, and I'm trying to keep up here. But Adam asked, should you be worried about the limited playing time of Willie Gay as almost the exact stat line as Frank Clark? Only 2 sacks separate them. It is a little bit concerning, but again, this is building still, and I'm not going to be concerned about it. They are doing a good job as a team pressuring. I think part of that is attention on Frank, and quite frankly, I think he's going to fire up towards the end of the season in the playoff run. That's what I'm most concerned with. Good question, though, Adam. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. Oh, Ms. Mesa, I hope you're doing well. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope that you're doing better, too. See, Spencer, toughest game remaining. I think right now it's probably the Bucks, and then the Chargers are going to come on, I think, you guys. And we saw Herbert day one. They're going to see him again, and I think he's making some progress in between. More power to Justin Herbert. He was my number 2 quarterback coming out in this class, and he's living up to it. Oregon Chiefs, Chris, do you think the master plan by Andy is to keep different offensive options? run heavy one game, pass the next, and the fear that it puts into teams as they head closer to the playoffs. I think you're actually hitting on something very important. I think that's why they did the fake punt yesterday. I think that's exactly why they did it, because they want to make sure that everybody's got to dig through all the film every week, especially in those playoff games. Mr. Porter, how are you? Folks, you're going to see something from Mr. Jeff Porter here very shortly. If not tomorrow, very soon. So keep an eye out for that. And Jeff, hope you're doing good. Alex, is Schwartz getting some extra time to rest? Do you see him returning to good form when he returns? I do. I'm not worried about it. It's about getting him right. His skill set has not declined. It's about the physicality of it. So I think he's going to be there. The return of Brian Gooch. How are you, bud? I know it's been a while, but hey, we're going, buddy. I know it's been a while, right? But I'm this close. In fact, if I can, maybe I'll be able to switch windows and I'll give you guys a little treat of something that I have been working on, because it's kind of fun for me to be able to get a little bit creative, knowing that, you know, I'd never use these on social media or anything, but I know you guys will get a kick out of some of them. So I just I toyed around with it, and I'm trying to find the graphics right now. They're buried in all of my projects. And if I go down to graphics and go from there, I might be able to show you. So bear with me just a minute. I think you'll dig them in the end. It's not channel art. It's not that. I hope you guys like the channel art, by the way. I put a lot of work into that as well. They are just going to be, a slow modernization, basically, as we go of what we're doing. And it's it's going to be fun, because every graphic kind of changes, whether it's the backgrounds that I'm doing on the BTNs. And if you haven't seen those, there's another one that's going to come out tomorrow. The by the numbers ones are a lot of fun, because they really try to illustrate what's going on. And it's one of those things that I don't know if you guys like them as much as I do, but I like them happening. And so that's the direction that I'm going. I'm going to throw this over on my screen so you guys can see some of these. And I'll give you a little preview of where your membership is going there, Brian. Let's see if I can share my screen in here and that one. So some of the custom emojis are going to be things like this that are just going to give you an idea of how you can comment and use them as a member. So I have quite a roll of them. This isn't all of them, but it's going to be fun. So that's part of where the development time is going for your memberships, Brian. And thank you for the super chats, as always, my friend. Are the Chiefs just better than other teams at developing players? It seems like every player we drafted is signing this year is having an instant impact. They are very good at talent evaluation and recognizing people like Turk Wharton that others pass on. So more power to him. You got to feel that that's a good sign for Bo Peep Keys eventually as well, too. Maybe he's not hitting the ground running like some of the others, but yes, that is a significant aspect of this organization that you have to rely on, that it has come so to pass that it's always there. And as it goes forward, you're going to see it more and more. So much so that they haven't even used my analytics work yet. We've been in contact, but they're not using it yet. And it's because they have a great system. So it's even harder for me to break in with the team that I care the most about, because they're already really good at this stuff. Chris, Spags to have seen a great knack for making the right adjustment as the game goes down in the second half. I agree. And he's been there, seen that. That's why. He is a guy with a lot of experience in the ways that it counts. And he's also, I think, remembers the golden rule very well for a coordinator is to use your players in ways that they can be effective, not try to shoehorn them into your system. So cheers to Spags for doing a heck of a job. Tactics. Why do we try to use CH and Levy in short yardage? Shouldn't that be for Daryl? I would agree, except for Daryl's a big back. He's not quite as slippery through those holes. And maybe when Assembly was here, you could run behind him. Even with Kilgore, and certainly with Remmers, Allegretti as well, a little bit more power, but not a lot. Those holes aren't wide open. It's hard for Daryl to fit in there. That's why they're using the smaller backs, the skinnier backs, even though Lev is like 6'2". He is narrower, so he can fit through some of those momentary holes a little bit easier. Any last minute trade rumors? I haven't heard any from anybody I trust. Let me put it that way. Should Chris Jones only be used for passing downs? No, I don't think it's that bad, Steven. I think he does play the run at times, but it's becoming more consistent. And quite frankly, they're happy to have the pass rush, and that's really what wins games. So I think they're going to be okay. In general, the philosophy is the Chiefs feel that they can sustain allowing runs. And they're absolutely right. I don't like it, but they're right. If the Bears move on from Matt Nagy, is it possible that they bring him back as a coordinator? It is possible. I don't think they're going to move on from him. They're in a pretty good spot. I mean, I think they're overachieving even as they are starting to lose some games. I still think they're doing better than anyone expected them to or could have expected them to. But I do expect Eric Bieniemy will move on, but they kind of have Kafka slotted for that. If Nagy became available and he wanted to come back, I actually think he'd get another head coaching job. But if he wanted to come back, they could certainly make room. Tactics. Chris Conley had a leaping records at the combine, yet never saw him hurdle anyone. Have you ever he even jumped into the crowd and dunked on the goal post? Good riddance. I disagree. I think you might have missed the vertical touchdown he caught last week or the week before. Like, it was all leaping ability. It's just that literally with Alex, he was never given the opportunity to do that. They wouldn't throw that pass. Now it's not a high percentage pass, so it doesn't happen that often, but I still like Chris Conley. He'd be nothing more than a fourth right now, but I could live with that. Do you see comp picks coming for this offseason? I haven't really gone through the formula yet, and my formula is just an estimation of what the real formula is, so I can't even say that that's accurate, but I'll take a look at that closer to the offseason. Jake, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the support as always. You are one of the instigators around here, and I appreciate it. Why are they calling draw plays on 4th and 1? Because they're expecting everyone to hit the holes, especially from the outside, and they're trying to find that gap. I don't particularly like it either. I'd rather throw a slant, especially to somebody like Sammy or Pringle, but that's me, and that's why I'm not calling the plays. Will, are you worried about the Steelers? By the way, I'm drinking the same beer in Idaho right now. Hey, to you. Well done, Will. Worried? No. I think the Chiefs can match up with them just fine. I am not worried about that matchup at all. And we'll see what happens through the course of the season. Who gets your game ball for the defense in the Jets game? Good question, Jeff. And I'm trying to remember who I gave it out to. I think on the show, I actually was the guy on offense, so I think I gave it to Kelsey. On defense, I would tell you that when it all comes down to it, the Jets didn't have a whole lot to offer, but it was the D-line that really made the difference. And so that has to go to Chris Jones. He got the most pressures in that game. He's the guy that they had to adjust to, so I would say that. Now, overall, most of the time I'm not going to go that way because I think in most weeks when teams are trying to pass to catch up, keep an eye out on the safeties because you're getting really good safety play in Kansas City. Tactics NFL Films never put out good stuff. Okay. First, they don't put Tyrann Mathieu cussing at the defense of the Super Bowl. Now they don't get Andy Reid yelling about the measurement. I know. Not everybody can catch everything. Quite frankly, they're not going to put out too many things that are cussing. I do believe that the coaches have some influence on that, and I don't think Andy wants that out there, to tell you the truth. Gary, thank you as always. It's good to see you. What's the most important position in next year's draft? For the Chiefs, I mean, it would be filling one of those holes, most likely offensive line, is my opinion. But the offensive line group isn't that great coming in, so I just don't know which way they'll go. I'll get a better read after we see what little football in college we'll see this year, and we go back through the film. Dan and I will be hitting it hard and heavy, and you guys might even see some new film analysts coming around too. Brian Gooch, as always, thank you, sir. Good to see Nicole stepping up. I completely agree. This is the version of Nicole I kind of had expected earlier in the season. I'm glad he's getting there now, and it all matters when they get there in the end. So I'm all for it. Tactics, are our guys capable of doing Patriots style 2-second offense? I'm sick of Mahomes getting hit. I agree. It's not that they're not capable. It's that they don't want to. Patrick wants to hit home runs. He wants those long patterns. You saw that when he checked to that deep pass to Tyreek. He wants to go for the throat and go deep. And especially when he's the guy who's deciding on the RPOs, whether they run or pass. I think you're going to see some deep balls rather than the short game, man. I think that's just preference at this point. Gooch is back. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Gooch. Thank you, Aaron, for pointing everybody out. I appreciate that. I'm starting to catch up a little bit, I think, you guys. Tactics, beating the Bills was revenge for Montana. Josh Allen is no Jim Kelly. No, but I think he's better than he gets credit for. Steve Concepcion, should we trade for Quinnen Williams? No. They're going to demand at the very least a second-round pick, and the Chiefs don't want to give those up. They frankly need them. They're going to have to move on from some guys in the next couple of seasons. So, Aaron started the count. I like it. Zane, after 8 weeks, is this year's defense looking better than last year's, or it is still too early to tell? It is not too early to tell. And I have tomorrow's By the Numbers. We'll scope some of that out for you, and then I'm doing a bonus one later in the week. There's just too many topics to cover, you guys. So I'm trying, instead of doing like 20 and 30-minute videos, I'm trying to chop it up. So I give you some in the mornings as well that are, between 5 and 8 minutes, something like that. So it's not like you have to like give so much time to sit down at once to watch them. But there's a lot of things that are pointing in different directions. And one of them is at the halfway mark. That's always when I start to take a look versus what they've done in the process. And the yards per play is up from last season overall. And it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but it's trending upward. The pressures have been up and down too, but generally they're trending a little bit down. So like we were talking about with Frank Clark, he does need to put it together in the second half. And they do need to be able to generate more pressure, especially with the 4. And I think they've had some injuries on that defensive front. I think they've got great depth, but they're not quite clicking on all cylinders when they don't have all their regular guys out there, the guys that they want to be the starters. So it takes some of that time to come together as a unit, especially when you're playing next to some backups. For Frank and Chris, they're stalwarts, but everybody else is kind of rotating around. So it takes a little bit of time. Mr. Gooch, you didn't see your name. Uh-oh. Maybe you're behind a little bit, man. You were in there. And they're all month dependent. I think you've been working or something. Don't take it personal. I do break them down by month, so that's specific. Rob Lynn, thank you very much. How do you think the matchup between the Steelers? I don't feel too worried about it. I got to take another look because I don't want to not give it enough credence, but I'm not worried about it either. I'm not really worried about anything other than the Chiefs being the Chiefs. The only ones that I feel can beat them are them. And so let's see here. Panthers next. Week off. Raiders, Bucks, Broncos. Dolphins, Saints is the next one that I'm worried about. I'm not worried about the Steelers. They'll deal with that matchup when it is a matchup. I will say Chase Claypool has turned into the player that I hoped he would be, although I would be running him from the slot / tight end spot a little bit more. But he is something they're going to have to contend with. That's definitely a matchup problem. But I don't see any reason to be worried about the Chiefs' offense against the Steelers' defense. The Chiefs can run when it's applicable. They'll screen the heck out of them. The only thing that I'm concerned about is, again, Patrick taking hits. So that's what they got to get shored up. But thanks for your super chat. As always, Robin, I appreciate that. And that was a good question as well. Pono, nice to see you. Do we go for Stephen Gilmore? I do not. What would the Pats ask for him? They're going to want as much as possible. I don't think they can get a 1. The guy's 30 years old. But they can push for a 2 and a 4 or a 2 and a 5, and I don't think the Chiefs want to give that up. I think the Chiefs might be interested in like maybe a 4th, maybe a 3rd, because it's so late. You have to expect that it's going to be, one of the bottom picks in each round. So they might consider that, but quite frankly, I don't think they'd go for it. And I'm not even sure that anyone will for that kind of compensation. Rashid, how are you? What do you think about the NFL talking about a 16-game tournament for the playoffs? I think that's really interesting, and I just caught a little bit of it tonight as we were recording a bunch of the shows. We did the podcast earlier. I did the By the Numbers, so that's in the can. I just got to edit it up. And in between, I caught that, but that's interesting. And I think from what I read, it is dependent on if they have to miss games, if they have to miss weeks because of COVID. I think they're starting to see that what's happening around the country is eventually going to leak into the NFL with so many cases right in so many states where there's teams. I think it will get into the NFL at some point. So just be on your guard and be ready to roll with it. They might do it. And I'm not one that prefers that. I don't like, having half the league make the playoffs, but in a year like this, I could see making an exception. And quite frankly, it'll make up some of the revenue for the league, and it will be slightly diminished playoff caliber, but it will still be playoff teams. It will still have the urgency for those teams and the desperation of performance for those teams. And that's really what drives good football, I think. More to come on it, I'm sure. And I'll give you more thoughts on it next week. Longmorn, good to see you. Hope you have a dram in your hand. American Whiskey by High West. I like that one. Campfire is a good one. They have a second bottle. I think it's their rye that I like as well. And if you guys dig the beer, I got, I think it was John Carter that asked. I didn't get a chance to respond to it. I do have a beer channel. It's called RGR Craft, and it's mostly beer. It's also a little bit about whiskey as well, because those are my personal habits outside of football. So, and we won't even get into the band. The band's on a hiatus, but we will be back in 2021. I'll have to get you guys some clips of that. I am working on some of our new promo material as well. Yeah, I have a lot of jobs. Thank you, Longmorn. I think the Steelers are the biggest weakness is Big Ben as the season goes on and wear and tear comes into play. That's a very good point, Chris. Ben has been subject to some faux pas, we'll call them. Gary, how do you think the Chiefs will do against the Steelers in the playoffs? If the Steelers are there, and I could see them very much being 1-2, so I don't know that you get them until a championship game. And yeah, they beat the Titans, but that was close. I expect the Titans to make the playoffs again too. The Ravens win was close. I expect them to make the playoffs again. There's all kinds of scenarios. If they see them, I'm not worried about it. If Tyreek and Patrick are both out, I'll be worried about it. See, Spencer, do you believe? I don't believe he is playing this week, but how much trouble would McCaffrey cause us this week if healthy? He is a formidable opponent. He is, in terms of all around, I'll put him as the top back in the NFL. Zeke is good, but doesn't impress me as much as everything that McCaffrey can do. I have a tendency to think that, man, they've held him out long enough. If they really get him on a practice field, I think he might play. So just be ready for that. But there's going to be a lot of rust. There's no way around that. And I think what you will see is if McCaffrey's on the field, so will Willie Gay be. So I think that's a good thing. Pono, how do we lock down the Bucs? They look tough, especially now with AB. We'll see with AB. I haven't seen him run or anything. Maybe I'm just behind the times, but I ain't too worried about that. It's about pressuring Tom Brady just like it always is, to tell you the truth. So I think that's going to be a big one where they got to get on their horse and get after him. You hit Tom Brady a few times, especially at this advanced age, like you saw the last couple times that they played him. You can limit how much he can hurt you. Ryan, we always hear about the genius Vandy Reid play calling, and I agree. But are you with me when I say that he tries to get too cute at times during games, or am I alone? No, and I wouldn't say that it's too cute. I think he is very cognizant of not running up the score on people. He's trying to be respectful, I feel. I don't feel that he is blatantly trying to, just run teams into the ground. That's my personal thought. Now, the screen just skipped on me, Aaron, so if I miss somebody between Ryan White here and Daryl Miller, who's our next super chat, thank you, Daryl. I appreciate it. Please let me know. Just wanted to say I love the stuff you put out for the Chiefs. Oh, thank you. And go Chiefs as well. The guys are helping me. Dan is really coming in his own about being comfortable and explaining what he's seeing. He's got a great eye, and he's getting better at teaching everybody else. So I'm glad you guys are digging that. And we're adding new people. I think Danilo's doing great with the tailgate series, and we got some other things in the work. So I'm glad you guys are enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it, building a team here, to tell you the truth. For years and years, I did things alone. And then I got a podcast partner, and then started doing this. And it's nice to have a team of guys that you can rely on to put out good work. And so that's what we're building here. I'm glad you appreciate it, and thanks for the support very much. Mike, what's the best counter when defenses play the extra guys in the secondary? Why don't the defenses do that to everyone? is it taking time for Mahomes to figure out how to attack that style? It's not just the style. It's about which specific cover it is. Are they playing cover 3? Are they playing cover 4? Are they playing cover 6? Are they giving you a look and then actually dumping back out to 1 high and playing that 3? Who knows? It's about being able to pick up on the disguises, and every team's different. And I think he's got some teams that he's better at figuring out right now. I think more experience will get him there. But in general, if you're going to play the guys deep, if you're going to be those teams that play 7 in coverage and play 3 or 4 of them well deep, you have to be able to hit the slants quick to bring the defense up, and you have to be able to hit the intermediate seams and overs so that you can hurt them where they're not, because linebackers can't get back fast enough to get away or to stay with, Hardman and Kelsey. They get away from them too easily. So that's what you have to do. But in order to do that, you have to have the time. You have to hold the ball for 2.5, maybe 2.8 seconds. You got to give Patrick the time to let those plays develop, and that's what it comes down to. Gary, have you heard anything about Snead coming back? No, I have not. Not a peep. Positive or negative, I haven't heard a thing. Steve Ehlers, what team do you think Eric Bennett will coach next season? I think he's going to take over the Broncos job. I like Vic Fangio, and I think he's a great defensive coordinator. I'm not sure he's cut out to be a head coach, and I think time will tell on him, and I think there will be an opening there. And I think Eric Bieniemy is from Colorado, and he played at Colorado, and I think he'll go back there. Sorry. Pono, is there DK Metcalf coming up in the draft that you were aware of to replace Sammy next season? I mean, not quite the same strength, but you could say Jamar Chase is close there. You could say the kid from Purdue is, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Bigger bodies that I think can still run well enough. I'm not sure that's what they're going to be looking for, though. I think they'll ride with Pringle or Demarcus Robinson. Sammy might take a pay cut and come back, too. You never know. But I think the overriding thing is they want speed first, ability to get loose first, and then they'll worry about the grinding. That's just my personal thought. Okay. Natalie, glad you made it. Welcome. I haven't seen Danilo yet, but he's down in your neck of the woods. Let's see. Chris Pete. What's going on with the sausage? You know, that's a mystery. I would think that he would have been cleared by now, but evidently not. So I guess that's just how he's dealing with the virus. And everybody's different. You hear a lot about how athletes aren't really affected by it, and that's very true. Some adults aren't affected by it at all, too, and some get really, really sick. I've lost a couple of my friends this year to this virus, both of whom were first responders, both of whom were younger than me, and much more fit, to tell you the truth. But everybody's body reacts differently. So I really don't have any other insight other than that, Chris. Evgeny, hope you're doing good. What do you think the Chiefs' inability to reliably pick up 1 or 2 yards on the ground is on the line, the running backs, or the play calling? It's all a bit of both. And the 4th down didn't go this week, but I thought Lev hit another one that I thought was pretty decent. It's about feel as well. And I think I like Allegretti in there for the straightforward stuff, but it takes some coordination with the center as well. So Kilgore and Fisher got to get with him and make a block, really. And I think when they do that, they'll be in better shape. It's a work in progress, but I think it's going in the right direction. Longmorn, thank you. Like you said yesterday, Nicole looked like his route tree has expanded. Yep, I agree. And saw CEH pick up 2 blitzes really well. Plays not dropping except to the rest. I agree with you. I thought CEH did a pretty good job, and I do see some of the bigger things from McCole. He's got to still be able to identify when to do that, but we certainly can see that he's comfortable doing more. So that's awesome. Steve Concepcion, have you ever coached? If so, what sport and level? I have coached. I was a D1 strength and conditioning coach and a backup linebacker coach. I was a GA at the time. I was really learning how to coach. I have not coached at the high school level or anywhere else, to tell you the truth. I spent a lot of years being a strength and conditioning coach and a physiology specialist. So that's what I did to prep athletes, not so much the X's and O's. But I don't know. You never know. I might get back into that. There's a high school around here that could use a little help. Sanchez, I got you, man. You say some funny things. You shouldn't let your wife read your comments. I'm just saying, dude. And Aaron, thanks for pointing out Natalie. I did see her, so that's great. How do you make the analytics boards and stuff? I actually use an infographics site that is out there. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I can give it to you in the comments or something. But it's meant for businesses, how they develop infographics and PowerPoint kind of things. They call them presentations. I do that so that I can put all my data in there that I keep track of in my personal statistic boards. And then I just kind of play it through the graphics, and I pick the graphics I like and just kind of do that. So it's just a package that I make up on the fly every week. I tend to stick with at least 4, sometimes 5 of the same ones week to week so we can see the trends. But I always have at least 1 or 2 in there that are new. Brian Gooch, thank you again. You're back on the train, my friend. Does Gase realize yet that after trading the linebacker that even with tanking for Trevor, he won't be there next year? No, he probably doesn't, or he doesn't want to admit it. But I agree with you. There's no way he's there. You can't let that happen. Samuel, how are you? Been a while with age at clicked off of that. Sorry. Adam or Aaron, you're going to have to keep me in line over here. I'm going to miss a few things. I think I'm falling behind. With injuries, with age at OT and Niang limited in development this season, how do we address the position in the future? I don't think there's going to be a retirement or letting either Schwartz or Fisher go next season. So you have Niang coming back next season. But I do think you have to get another tackle that you feel can eventually become a starter in the fold so they can start working on it. Mike Remmers isn't the long-term replacement. So I think you're going to see in the draft, they're going to look long and hard, and you're going to maybe even find somebody that's in the league that isn't getting the time now. Ryan, seems like McCaffrey will be back this week. Do you think Spags is doing to combat his versatility? It's going to be about having the personnel right, probably playing more safeties, playing Dan down a little bit more, playing Willie a little bit more. Is there any word on Snead? No, not yet. Your thoughts on Kaiser? Project in development is my thought. We'll see how far he goes. Adam Bono, thank you again, as always. Hope you guys are doing good up there. It's still a little bit warm, but I got some of your air last week, I'll say. Is Dan just having a contract year, or is this a new version just crushing people? You have a very good point. He is bringing the hammer more, and I do like that. And I think that's, quite frankly, it's him being comfortable in the scheme. Second year in the scheme for him, for a guy who's had to play a lot of different spots. I think that's just familiarity and confidence in knowing what his assignment is. And part of it is they still play him at the back sometimes, which is not his thing. I say it every week, but it's the truth. But he's really coming on when they play him close to the line of scrimmage where he belongs. And I think that's where he can make the biggest plays. And he's been really steady with it. So I'm glad you pointed out the intensity, because I think he is an energy bringer at this point. Pono, is Osemele's injury career ending? I haven't seen the details. I don't know the grade of the injuries. They are significant. I can't tell if it's a season or a career. But I'm optimistic. He's a pretty optimistic guy, and I think he'll do everything he can to get back. I just don't know if his body will cooperate. I'm going to say no, that he plays again. That's my personal feeling. Kansas Carolina, any thoughts on why Willie didn't get more playing time? It's because they were playing nickel a little bit more. I think they're comfortable with him in base. They've had him there all year, and I think he's gotten the most snaps there, so I think he's most comfortable there. But I think they're still a little hesitant to have him just out there with either Neiman or Sorensen in the nickel. So I think that's going to change. It'll progress, but I don't think they're there yet. FLDB with that 4th and 1. It was so predictable doing the run down the middle. Yeah, it was. The pass was working so well. Why didn't they just do a short pass? I agree, especially because you could have faked that dive and really just dumped it anywhere without much to do about nothing. But sometimes it is, again, there might be a situation later in the year where you have to run that for whatever reason. If they, if they give you a 3-man front and you're in short yardage, you got to run that. So, like, it might be a practice thing. It might be a timing thing. It might be getting Bell used to the line as well. There's all kinds of factors that go into a coach's head that we don't see as people outside the organization. Zachary, Anthony Hitchens is pretty bad, right? Or am I just being mad at him for no reason? It's not that he's bad. He's not a take on linebacker, and they need one. And they keep trying to make him that. He's evidently a very good leader in the locker room, Guys respect him. Guys listen to him. He has a pretty good job. He does a pretty good job of getting them lined up right, and that's a big responsibility for a middle linebacker. But he just can't take on blocks. He's a less explosive version of Derek Johnson before Derek got benched, and I just don't see him getting that post benching DJ. That's my thought. What'll convince you to stay for EB to stay for another season? A whole lot of money and a assistant head coach title. Jim Betts. Sorry I'm late, but do you see any run-stopping linebackers out there for the Chiefs that might be interested in trades? I don't think so. If there was a decent one, I think it would have been done already. And quite frankly, I don't hear much about the availability of linebackers. It's not a hot spot position, but you've seen one move. I think it was Williamson last night from the Jets. There could be something in the works that we just don't know about because it's not something that gets publicized a lot at that position. Aaron, was it a little early to bring Dana back? He looked really slow. Yeah, he looked a little heavy to me. He looked a little slow. I don't know. Might have just been a bad week. It might have just been, shaking the rust off. I really can't tell you for certain. Okay, folks, it looks like there's some supers that I am well behind at this point. I'm going to try to catch up. But Justin, I do think they are good enough to go to the Super Bowl. Do you think Willie Gay and DOD to bring all that speed? Possibly, but I don't think they trust DOD to tell you the truth. What's Johnny, what's Noddy's cap number going to be after signing him? I think they can get him for probably in the 6-ish a year range. Run stuffing, not pass rusher specific guys aren't that expensive. I think they'll get it done. Besides CMC, what are the Panthers team concerns, or what should Chiefs be focused on? You got to stop Teddy. Moore is a good speed receiver. Like, he can do some things, but I'm not too worried, to tell you the truth. Altic, what are you feeling about Allegretti long-term at left guard? I think he's serviceable. Wouldn't mind an upgrade. That's how I feel too. I wasn't sure they were even give him a chance because I wasn't sure he had progressed to that point. I've been pleasantly surprised so far. But I don't know that you see much more topside than what you see right now. So that's my thinking as well. Who do you think is the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC? On any given Sunday, man, I still feel like the Ravens have a better matchup against the Chiefs than the Steelers do. So I'd probably lean that way. But yeah, that's it. That's the one. Unless something really turns around for the Chargers, and I can't see that happening. Do you see us dropping Fish after next season? I don't think so. But he may choose to go elsewhere because that last contract is coming for him. Does Robinson get traded this offseason after Hardman and Pringle have been putting up good work? No, Scott. Robinson's on a 1 year. So when this season's over, he'll be a free agent again. He'll either come back or maybe he'll get picked up this year. I thought he'd get picked up last year, so I could be wrong. But he's definitely only under contract for this one season right now. What do you want? Why do you want a corner in the first round again? Because they're still susceptible. They're putting a lot of pressure right now on the safeties because without them playing over the top, you have things like what happened with Ward yesterday. Now, LJ can take that spot, but Ward seems to have taken a step back. Breezy's on a 1 year. Ward is a free agent. You have Fenton and Snead next year under contract, and I believe that's it right now. Oh, and Bo Pete. And I believe that's it. So, yeah, I would definitely make an investment and stay young at that position. Why is Hardman not living up to his number 2 draft pick? Honestly, because he was drafted a little bit high in the first place, and so expectations are a little out of whack. And quite frankly, he's playing behind 2 really good receivers in Watkins and Hill. He's getting there, and I feel like he's making progress. It's just a little slower than we'd like. Okay. Natalie, thank you very much for the sticker. I appreciate the support and for you being here. Not a lot of ladies come around, so it's nice to have you when you guys make it. Johnny, on the remaining schedule, who do they lose to? Tampa's the one that scares you, but the Saints are in there too. Let's see. Oh, Aaron, you like the 30-minute vids? Okay. Sometimes those are hard for folks to watch, especially if they're watching on the end of their lunch hour or the beginning of their break or whatever. I want to make sure everybody can see it, a little bit before work, a little bit after work, or whenever works for them. Good point, though. Is Wharton and Taco playing the same packages? Do you notice that? Not necessarily. They don't rotate per package like the offense does. It doesn't matter whether they're playing a cover 6 in the back or free man. They're not going to rotate the DN specifically for that. I think it's more about keeping all of them fresh and who's tired when and who's actually having success against a given player in front of him. I think that's really what it's mostly about. Nice, Natalie. Gooch, you're the man. You're back with a vengeance. I like it. Gilmore to KC. The dynasty is falling and the kingdom is rising. It is. I don't think it's going to happen, though, man. I got to tell you, I am not optimistic about that. The cost alone, I think this is going to be one of Belichick's, like, you can either give me a first-round pick or I'll just keep him and make him miserable so I can do my rebuild in solidarity. Oh, thank you, Natalie, again. Thank you, Aaron. How legit is Ward's LASIK surgery a failure? I don't know that you can blame the LASIK, man. Some of it's instinct too, and it's clearly something that still needs to be worked on. And a lot of people gave me a lot of crap when I was telling them, hey, I just don't know if he's got upside beyond a number 2. Well, we're running out of reasons to say why not. So keep an eye open. Christopher, after winning the Super Bowl, do you see Andy staying for the next 6 or 7 years? Yes, I do. I think he'll coach until he's 70. With Patrick around, I don't see any reason why he won't. Brian, thank you. Ward seems to have regressed. When is Snead back? Don't know exactly, but I think that's going to be an interesting conversation about who's going to play when Snead does come back. Ryan White, any concern we lose both EB and Spags? Where would the promotion come from in-house on the defensive side? It's very simple. It'll be Brennan Daly or Matt House, one of the two of them. Matt House was the head coach at Kentucky. Yes, it's a college team, but he's been the guy out front. He can certainly manage a defense. Brennan Daly can too, although I think that distracting him a little bit would not be my preference. I would probably go with House and bring in another linebacker coach. But that's just my thought. I've never spoken to either of them, so I don't know them well enough to know beyond just my general inkling. Johnny, do you think that we cut Hitchens next year? Yeah, I think that there's an out in the contract. I think as soon as it's feasible, I think they will. I think they're going to have to. They're going to have to jettison some contracts here to get to the 175, which is the expected salary cap next year. Iron Man, glad you're here. I don't think we've answered yours before. What would you say Mahomes' biggest weakness is? Just pushing a little bit too far, knowing that he's got the cannon and trying to make things happen that really he should just take the easier route out of. Let's see. Whose jersey did you wear, Aaron? Okay. Eric Schneider, how are you? When Snead comes back, who takes the bigger hit in playing time, Ward or Fenton? Quite frankly, I think it's Ward. Right now, I know they're running Ward because they like Fenton at the inside. If they can put Snead on the outside and let Ward try to get his act together, I think that's what they'll do. I don't think Ward can play in the nickel. I think Snead can, but I don't think it's his best spot. And I don't think you want Breezy in there. So I think it's better to play Breeland, Fenton, Snead than it is to have Ward taking one of those spots and forcing Snead into the slot. Do you see Tedrick Thompson and Snead beating Ward for his spot? Tedrick Thompson won't. He's not a corner. He can't do corner things. He's good in space, but he'll be a safety no matter what. He will not be a cornerback. By the way, there's an interesting channel here on YouTube from his brother Cedric. You should check that out. Eric Schneider, thank you. When is Snead available to come back? He is available whenever they want. Because of the rules this year, he had to sit out 3 weeks. He's been well past that, firefighter. I believe they can bring him back as soon as they want to. They designated him from return, I believe. So I think that gives them a 3-week window as well. Okay, Jimmy, please discuss the advantages or disadvantages of moving Pats to left or right hashes. Oh, PATs to the left or right hashes. You know, I'm not a kicking guru. I don't know terribly well. It depends on the stadium and the wind, to tell you the truth. but the hashes basically line up on either side. So if you're a right-footed kicker, you generally have a tendency to push it rather than hook it. So I would think you would want to move to the left. I don't know the specifics, though. I've never been trained in that. I know very little about kicking through an upright, to tell you the truth. So I will definitely take the pass on that, man. I am not an expert. Let's see. Oh, by the way, Firefighter, I didn't say it, but thank you for your donation and support. As always, the super chats help us out, folks, a ton. Okay, got that. Aaron, still think you should have your band's music playing on the outros. The problem is we haven't released our originals, and we play about 80% covers, and you can't use those without permission. So someday we do have plans to record and put some of my songs out, and I'll let you guys know when that happens. And when that does happen, I could possibly use them. Okay, I am way behind. So I'm going with the first one I find, which is Neil. After the Raiders game, are you concerned with the O-line? Is it still a concern? Somewhat. I mean, they're doing the best they can for backups. I'm not too worried about where they are. I just want them to improve still. Scott, your thoughts on Patrick getting the MVP? It's close between him and Russell. I think in most voters' eyes, it's not that close yet. I think Patrick's going to come on, though. And if he has the opportunity to throw like he did the other day, where defenses are not specifically stopping the back, that's going to be a challenge. Sure, Dave. So imagine cover 4. So you have the field cut into fourths, right? I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3. Instead of playing 4 guys at 1/4 of the field, you play 2 guys at 1/4 of the field, and 1 guy takes half the field, usually away from the trips. So you're basically trying to cover as much ground in a cover 4 with only 3 guys. It lets you keep an underneath guy, lets you play a robber, a number of different things. It's something that they disguise from either cover 3 with a single high, or when they show you cover 4 with splits and they come down, but everybody has zones on the outside, that's a cover 6. Let's see here. Michael, thank you very much. Appreciate the support. How can the Ravens get Steelers in round 2? Is Ward's failed LASIK real? I have no idea about Ward. Good job as usual. Thank you, Michael. How can Ravens get Steelers in round 2? Don't throw interceptions. I mean, it really did come down to the quarterback between the interceptions and that last touchdown that he had Andrews on, but he predetermined. This is Lamar I'm talking about, folks. Lamar predetermined where he was throwing that ball into double coverage with a linebacker underneath. So technically you could call it triple when Andrews was breaking at the back of the end zone. It's experience. I think it's a little bit of pressure that Lamar doesn't do that great with. So I think he will eventually. But that's what you got to do. You got to get him settled down. Okay, I am going to skip around here, folks, trying to make sure. Okay, I'm going to hit Aaron's because I clearly have missed some people, and I apologize for that, you guys. Aaron, what do you expect out of the Panthers? Not much. I had hoped that they would rally last week. They really disappointed me. They'll run McCaffrey if they can, and they'll pass to him a lot on the linebackers if they can. Scott, another good day for Sorensen. You think he's playing a bigger contract and building trade stock? Not trade stock. He's too old for that. But he is building to get another contract. Aaron, thank you for doing this. You're saving me. Dylan Hall, will the weak schedule finish the year hurt the Chiefs in the playoffs? No, nothing at all. It'll help them get healthy, if anything. Let's see. Big test. Oh, Brian Gooch, thank you again. Man, you're a machine tonight. Big test. Can you see Ward being benched? Not benched, but I can see him losing snaps. I can definitely see that. That's the way that I would go, but I'm not sure what Andy will do, or I'm sorry, what Spags will do. Who would you trade for to help the team right now? You could go tight end 2. You could go if there was a linebacker that could cover that was worth it. I mean, I'd be calling Atlanta about Deion Jones. I think he's an elite coverage linebacker on a team that's drowning. So, I mean, there's one example, but I don't think it's going to happen. But thank you for the support, Daryl. I'll keep trying to come up with answers. Oh, Ryan White, thank you again. Aaron, thank you. Next week's Carolina and the bye, in your opinion, what are the big changes, adjustment we should look for coming out of the bye? Hopefully it's Sammy being back and maybe Snead being back, and then being able to hopefully figure out who they're going to get pass rush from. Tano's been playing well, setting the edge for the most part. He got sucked in a little bit. One of those quarterback runs, but he's not generating the pass rush as much. Nobody's getting home. They really got to get some rest and get those guys hitting the quarterback. Scott, hypothetically, what would you say to OBJ wanted to come to Kansas City? I said I'd pay you $5 and a hamburger, and I will not put up with your BS. That's what I would say. I don't want him. Lewis Howery, thank you for your support. Steelers can't play man-to-man on Mahomes. He'll rip up their zone. Yeah, I tend to think that as well. Minka's really good in playing that role for them, but I just don't think they have the horses to keep up. Eventually, they're going to have to do something. Stevie, thank you for your support. As always, one of the stalwarts. I appreciate it. Would you like to see Andy bring in a backup QB or line up Kelsey to install some kind of other creative packages for 4th and short? I really hate seeing the ball get handed off 5 yards deep. You know, that's the way the ball goes, though. I'd rather see them put Sherman in there and run off tackle and not run in the A gap when you have Ryder is a center that can't really get any push, and Kilbore's getting jacked because he is a little bit better, but he's not, an earth mover. I want to see them run counter. I want to see them attack the edges. I want to see them stack the line and bring in 3 tight ends. But yeah, find something other than just running the dive or run the play action off the dive. One of the two. I completely agree with you, Stevie. Thomas Passwater, thank you very much. What's the next game that you feel Gay can get some playing time? It may be this week, especially if they intend to run out McCaffrey quite a bit. That may be the thing to get him on the field. Steve Concepcion, is Pringle taking over return duties permanently? I think they want him to. He's got to continue to do well, but they want to lighten Hardman's role so he can do more in the offense. Hot and spicy, how long does it take you to learn enough about these draft prospects? I'll narrow it down. Dan will take some. Reagan will take some. If you guys don't know Reagan Cresswell, he's worked with us on Locked On Chiefs and Chiefs Digest for quite a while. I'll go with some of the scouts that I know and trust and kind of narrow my list, but I end up with a list every year that's 20 to 25 guys at each position, and I try to watch 2 to 3 games on each of them. I prioritize by the positions the Chiefs need, but I do watch every position except for quarterback mostly. Most of the time I've seen enough live that I have a feeling for the top few quarterbacks. And quite frankly, there's only ever 3 or 4 quarterbacks that are worth drafting. Everybody else is a shot in the dark. So that's what it comes down to. Aaron, thank you again. And Ian, thank you as always. Do you see any power plays when Sherman gets back, such as dual running back sets or 2 tight end sets that make tons of mismatches? I completely agree with you. And I do hope that they get back to that. I'm a little concerned about Anthony's health, so I don't want him to rush it. But yeah, I do want to see him back on the field. Jason Sajalin, I'm gonna go with that. Aaron, thank you again. Why do you suppose Willie Gay, after a good job against the Bills, only got 9 snaps against the Jets? It's because they weren't in base enough for them to feel comfortable with him. The calls are different in nickel. The responsibilities are different in nickel. And for a rookie, it's a little intimidating, easy to be taken, get manipulated by quarterback's eyes. So that's what it is. Scott, any thoughts on special teams? I like the way that they're going. I'm glad that they pulled out the fake, and I think that they're holding their end of the bargain. Preachers, you look good on my new Note 20. Oh, okay, cool. I'm glad that it's smoothing out. I dropped the resolution, so hopefully it doesn't get as chunky. I'm still working on a better provider, you guys. Pono, is Okafor out the door? Probably. I like him, but he can't stay healthy. Which college coach do you see becoming a successful head coach like Pete Carroll did? That's a good question, Steven. And I don't know a ton of them right now. Man, off the top of my head, I mean, Lincoln Riley's probably the big one, right? I don't know. I'd have to go back and check some of them out. But hey, great question. Let's see. Mad Cuz. Okay. I am doing well. These bye weeks are boring, and I just want to skip to week 11 or 12 in the competition against Carolina. Yeah, I'm with you. I get it. It's going to be a decent game this week. The bye week will be kind of slow, but hey, it is what it is. Let's see here. Curtis. Gotta love Schwartz and Assembly comments on Twitter. Oh, yeah. If you guys didn't miss me retweeting them, I retweeted the snot out of them. And I love seeing those guys that are active on the team tweeting out what they really think of it, because it gives you a better perspective about, just how much the offense in particular really values what happens when Dan Sorensen creates a turnover, or when somebody, gets a 3 and out. Like, the offense pays attention to these things, and the whole team comes together and they can appreciate what each other does. I think that's really great to see. See, Spencer, Chiefs among the top defensive passing yards allowed per game. What does that say about a secondary that I think just about everyone was worried about coming into the season? I think they've been doing pretty well so far. I think the safeties are covering up a bit. I do see guys running loose, and I think a lot of teams are getting focused on trying to hit home runs and try to keep up with Mahomes, to tell you the truth. Whereas I think if they brought it back in, the Chiefs are a little bit more susceptible in the middle, in shorter yardage. Jordan Hardwick, man, Aaron, thank you for doing all this. What do you think of the impact of Snead returning from injury will be? I think it'll slow down the snaps for Ward, and I think it will help the defense overall. Let's see. Justin Herbert playing decent, Joe Burrow improving, the addition of Lev Bell. Do you see CH staying in Rookie of the Year convo? And can he actually win? He'll stay in the conversation. I'm not sure he can win with those quarterbacks, man. Their teams rely on them every week, no matter what. Ian Roberts, you're right. He is out for the season. Just don't know if it's a career. Does Breland get an extension, or does he take a pay cut? He's on a 1 year, but I think they might re-up him. It depends on money. It depends how much interest there is, to tell you the truth. Mr. Gooch, thank you as always. Bring back Reggie. You're killing me. Our defense is getting better at defending the run on short yard situations, or is the offense running worse? A bit of both, and especially when they know it's coming. All right, I am fighting to catch up, you guys. Did K-Bass or Pennell be on the team next year? K-Pass, I think, is the end of his rope. He might get an offer somewhere else. I think Pennell will be back. What's up with Frank Clark? Seems to have disappeared from the pass rush. Yeah, he's not a force right now. I'm not sure if he's 100%. We didn't even know he was hurt last year until the end, so we'll find out. But yeah, I'd love to see him really start to exert his will. He's a motivator, and I think he helps the defense overall. Do you think that the O-line is a championship caliber line? Love your work. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And yeah, I think the line is probably on par with last year's. Especially if they have their starters. Maybe if they don't, they're a little bit behind, but I think they can get it done. Alex, do you think that Nicole Harmon will be able to take Sammy Watkins' role next year? No. They don't do the same things. He's not that physical a receiver. I think McColl's going to be McColl. I think he's going to do a little bit more of the Tyreek thing with the jets and the things like that, and he's going to run out of the slot and attack that way. They need to get a bigger bodied, somebody like Pringle, that kind of thing to take over for Sammy when Sammy's done. Sammy could take another pay cut and come back. You guys never know. Tyson, I appreciate that very much. Ian, he's back on a 1 year deal. Not sure how the injuries will work. Yeah, I'm not sure you're talking about, but I agree. Let's see here. Aaron, tell me if there's anybody else that I missed. Oh, man. Dang. Thanks, Gooch. You're the man. I think, yeah, okay, I just answered that one. Sorry, you guys, I'm getting confused here where I am. Charlie, if the Chiefs and the Steelers tie, who would get the number 1 seed? It would go to their divisional record and then points scored. So right now, the Chiefs have lost in their division, and the Steelers have not. So that's how it would break down. Gary, I can. I'm not ready to say that he's going to be yet, but I definitely can see Snead becoming an elite player. Mr. Gooch, as always, thank you. It seems our safeties are better than the CBs. Why not use Watts and them more? Only because they can't do the same kind of skill set. Safeties generally play with themselves facing the quarterback. Corners, especially man, have to be able to turn their backs and play the man. It's a different skill set. That's why at the combine you see guys do workouts in different orders with different days. Aaron, thank you for saying this. Folks, if I missed your super chat, please let Aaron know, and he will make sure that I know, because I'm terrible at keeping up with this, and I apologize. We're over an hour. I'm going to hit those, and we're going to call it a night. And starting with Mr. Longmorn. EB to Denver, Spags gone, Vance to KC as the DC. Ooh, Vance Joseph as the defensive coordinator. I can't see that. I just don't think he's been successful enough. I think they would stay in-house before they would do that. You could be very right on both EB and Spags, though. I would not enjoy that, but you very much could be right. Okay, trying to get here to the end. Gooch again, you the man. Nagy's back next year. Okay. I mean, I won't say no. If they can find a spot for him and it works out that way, I won't argue. If House does become DC, could Derek Johnson be a linebacker coach? He definitely could, but he'd need to be an assistant first. I don't think even as good as he was as a player, I don't think he'd walk in and become a head position coach right off the bat, but you never know. Johnny, how do you match up with the Seahawks? Fairly well. It would become a thing where you got to almost play man all night long on DK Metcalf because the Chiefs corners are good at man. LJ Steen's the only corner that can run with him. And even then, DK's got an advantage a little bit by what? I think it was half a second, something like half a second. I mean, 0.05 of a second. It's not a ton, but it's enough to make an advantage on the field. Were you in a band? I am in a band. I am the lead singer and songwriter for the Canyon Creek Band out here in Colorado. I've been playing music for, 25 years. So yeah. We used to have some music out on Amazon. It's no longer there. It was an early demo of one of my songs. We're going to do some more and try to put that back out. But you can even search for our version of Tulsa Time out there on YouTube. You can find that. I'll throw it in the comments later too. See what you guys think. Just driving. Thanks. Drive safe. And thanks for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Let's see. Going to wrap up with everybody else who's in here with the super chats. Folks, if I missed your regular comments, I apologize. I just got to make sure I hit the super chats because they're helping us out. Preachers of Hell County, super sticker. Thank you very much. I like the sticker too. I'm not sure what that is, but hey, rock on. Scott, did you hear that Chris Jones wants to score an offense? Yeah, he says he wants to play quarterback too. I can see something cooking up eventually. Will he get a good spy for CMC? Yeah, he could be, but I don't know that they're going to really approach the spy thing. I think they're going to try to play it a little straighter with linebackers assigned to coverage, but not necessarily just spying him. Justin, thank you very much. Catching up here. Let's see. Alex Mack from Atlanta would be a good trade, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. He's getting up there in age. I did not see him play very well. What was it, last week or 2 weeks ago when I watched him? Yeah, I'm not so sure. Yeah. It's a tough one. Folks, Canyon Creek Band. I'll put it here in the chat. It's fun. We do rock country kind of stuff. And if you search this, not Tim, shoot, put an E on that. If you guys search this on YouTube, you'll find it. And I'll put a link in the comments or something. See what you all think of that. I think we have finally reached the last. So I hope that we're there. I appreciate all of your time and all of you watching. For everybody who super chatted, whether I got you or not, very much appreciate the support. We're trying to do good things with it. I think you're going to dig the memberships and some of the software things we're working on as well. Some better ways to do film, to do stats, to do all the things that we do to explain what we see in the game and try to open the door a little bit more. Looks like we just got another one. Want to hit that? Oh, Michael, how are you? Why doesn't Pat learn to put air under the ball like Wilson in Seattle? Is he concerned he'll let others pick him off? I think it's just a style thing. I don't think he has to put air on it, so he doesn't do it. I think his arm is definitely stronger than Russ's. I think that's part of the thing there, but no, I think he's just trying to get it there as quickly as possible. So, guys, give Aaron a big hand because he keeps me honest and he keeps me on track when I screw things up like getting lost in the comments. So thank you all very much. I hope you had a great Monday. Have a great rest of the week. We have film Wednesday, Thursday, game plan Friday. I have stats for you tomorrow. Jeff's going to have something for you this week, as well as the tailgate Kingdom Corner from Danilo on the weekend. And then we get going on game day again. So I hope you guys have a great one. Thank you all very much. And I'll see you next time.